But what if you were laying with her and all of a sudden she's like, woo!
That would be acquitted.
That would be a... All right, welcome to a special edition of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. You mentioned Piper, right? We're huge Piper fans, of course, from here.
Who ain't? I mean, Roddy was the best of the best.
And you were close with him, right?
Yes, sir.
So let me ask you a question. This has always bothered me, right? I actually promoted Piper, I don't know, years ago, but really great guy. There's an interview out there where he's speaking, and he talks about when he's growing up in the business, and he had some issues with Pat Patterson. I guess he had to do something that he didn't really want to do, but he did it for the betterment of his career. We were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we were.
Did he ever share that story with you at all?
No.
How does it
I
make
didn't
you?
even know. I didn't.
How does it make you feel when you hear about it? I mean, obviously uncomfortable. I would assume to be.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's got to be like what?
I mean,
Why don't you tell us about how Roddy tried to get you into WWE?
well, he was in Atlanta and he went to New York and he called me and said, he had me a tryout, and at the time, that's when Crockett, I think Crockett had took over WCW, and but. Anyway, he had me a booking up there, but Southern boy coming north. I was a cornbread boy and had my young'uns and just didn't want to pack up and move everything, didn't want to go leave them. And she offered me a good deal. And shoot, I didn't work but 2 days a month and worked about almost close to a year for her, on a guarantee. And it was all good. I mean, sometimes I look back and did I dumb myself? Probably, maybe. Because you don't know. I mean, it's like Japan. I made a few trips over there. The first time I went for 6 weeks, I was crying and wanted to come home. That's a long time. Because when I first went over there, I think all they had, and it was in Tokyo, was a Shakey's Pizza Parlor. And it wasn't no American pizza either.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was a Japanese pizza, but it was Shakey's. But then when you went on the outside of town, man, it wasn't, and it was really, really, really good money. But first 2 weeks was good, and they don't bring about 4 Americans over there then. And I was one, I didn't know none of the other ones. So you're 6 weeks there. I mean, it's close as you'd be to being in jail. To me, it was. But anyway, the first 2 weeks was cool. 3rd week's a little harder. 4th week, you want to go home. Then by the 5th week, you're getting that big payday, so you're going downhill. But I called my wife a couple times crying like a big baby wanting to come home. And,
What did your wife say to you?
She said, stick it out. Of course, you had to
Suck it up.
Yes, suck it up, big boy.
They're paying you on the last day. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's more or less what it was.
There you go. Did Roddy try? Look,
Yeah.
Roddy got you a booking. Did you explain to Roddy, like, I feel I don't want to come up north?
Yeah,
Did he
me and
resist?
Roddy
Did he
talked.
try to talk you out of it? Like, come on,
No,
Tommy.
he respected. No,
He understood?
no, 'cause
And that was
Roddy,
it?
He had gave me the opportunity.
Right.
Open that door, but he respected me and Roddy was cool. I mean, he was just trying to give me a chance.
Right.
And whether I did or didn't dumb myself, it is what it is. And
Understood.
hey, I'm on y'all's show 40 years later, since I've done something.
Yeah, that's what I'm
There
saying.
you go.
It really doesn't make a
Absolutely.
difference. Everybody knows who Tommy Rich is, that's for sure.
No doubt.
Tommy, interesting on the news today. Bleaching hair causes brain damage. Dr. Martin Pratt and Dr. Benjamin Staines of the Center Institute of Studies, hair bleaching causes brain damage.
Come on now.
What do you think?
He's twitching. Tommy, you all right over there?
I
He's
don't know.
twitching.
And bleach is gone.
What do you mean? What do you mean your hair's not natural?
Yeah, well, do you see any?
That's what I'm saying. That's a natural blonde right there.
Hey, I did it for y'all's show, man. I wanted to look pretty on y'all's show. No,
Well, you did it. You did
I don't know
Well
about
done.
that. I mean, I know it makes you lose your hair if you watch a lot of these guys that wrestle that have blonde hair, but it ain't affected me too much. Mine's still long.
You know, I was thinking about what was the deal with that in the past days? Why did everybody feel like they had to be blonde? Like, was that mandatory? Like, everybody was blonde, right?
No, everybody wasn't blonde.
Did
Marty.
Did
I mean, that's
Superstar
like me saying everybody was bald.
Did Superstar Graham
come
start
on,
that thing? No.
man. Come
Oh
on.
my Lord!
I don't know what I know the reason I bleached my hair was because it was old sandy. It looked, even when you washed it, it looked greasy and dirty.
Ric Flair has decided to get back in the ring. Recently, he was saying that something is sore. As he's confirming an injury, he's getting prepared to get in the ring at the age of 73. What's your take on all of this? Are you worried for him, or are you just like Rick is Rick? He's got to be Rick. What do you?
Well, I mean, you know, it's. I mean, you can't picture him as a lawyer or anything else. I mean, that's something he's done all his life. I mean, I can't picture me doing nothing else either. So it's in his blood, but it's hard with. I mean, him having a pacemaker, man. It's scary. It's scary. I mean, you know.
Do you think there's a part of Ric Flair that loves the industry that so much that if he passed away in the ring, and God forbid that would ever happen, he would be okay with it? Like, he's just like, you know, whatever happens, happens.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, Rick. I mean, whether you liked him or don't like him or whatever. I mean, he's devoted his life to this business. You know, I mean, like everybody else, he had his own extracurricular activities. But as a wrestler and a man of business, he always dressed the part, and he didn't like to go under 30 minutes either. I mean, he wanted to go out there. I mean, he was a wrestler. I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of respect for Ric Flair. You know, good luck to him, and just hope nothing happens to him.
When you
know?
wrestled him, who called the matches? Did he take the lead
Rick
on calling
did,
the
yeah,
matches,
Rick.
and you were okay with that?
Oh yeah, he was. I mean, he was a technician in the ring. I mean, the only difference between like Harley, I think, was a general because he adapted to everybody's style. Where Rick, I think, more or less has his own style that you wrestle to. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's only but to walk the walk and talk the talk, as he says. I mean, he was one of the best at what he did. I mean, you never seen him underdressed. I mean, he always dressed sharp. You know, promos was good and could go in there and carry the load. So whether you liked him or didn't, I mean, he was a man's man in wrestling. I mean, I do say that.
So up here, when speaking to other wrestlers and things, the ones that wrestled in the WWE or WWF, they used to say, you know, look, you always wanted to get on Hogan's card, right? Because when Hogan, you knew no matter where you were on that card, you were getting a really good payday, right?
Yeah.
Was Flair that type of guy that, like, I've got to get on the card with Flair, or was it different in the NWA?
I think it was different for me, especially. I mean, I got paid. I mean, I wrestled in Georgia. It didn't matter. I got paid. Mr. Barnett, the owner of Georgia Championship Wrestling, he took care of all the guys. I mean, I mean, there might be a couple of bits about money, but never had a problem. You know, I worked for some other folks and on big shows, and made $150, and I could go work in Carrollton, Georgia, that hold maybe 600, 700, 800 people and make the same amount of money. Say, Mr. Barnett, but I'd go work for Bob Geigel, and if there wasn't a $40 payoff there, I could live with it because he was an honest man, you know. But Mr. Barnett, he, you know, you know, he was just always good to me, and I ain't really never heard nobody say nothing bad about him.
You know, you've been in here numerous times, and one thing I catch is you always call him Mr. Barnett. You don't call him Dick Barnett. You don't call him Barnett. You still have that utmost respect for him even now to this day?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, because I mean, Jerry Jarrett broke me into business, and I respect Jerry Jarrett, but Mr. Barnett gave me a lot of opportunity. You know, Ole Anderson didn't like me. He was the booker, didn't want me there because I wasn't Dr. Steve Williams or somebody, you know. He liked them wrestler type guys. I was a little 220-pound, 210-pound country boy, you know, that didn't work out a whole lot. I mean, you know, I had that athlete body, you know, but I wasn't pumped up. And but Mr. Barnett never gave up on me, and I went on to draw good money. But if it was up to some other folks, I wouldn't have been there with the opportunity. And that's why, because I have so much respect for them.
So you were amazingly popular, as everybody knows, right? And I'm sure within the industry, people get jealous. Did anyone challenge you, right? Because, you know, again, you just mentioned Steve Dr. Death Williams. Does anyone get pissed off like, man, this guy's getting all the, you know, getting all the cash, getting all the push. You know, I'm going to challenge him in the locker room.
Well, no, oh, I never had no problem in the locker room. I mean, because it's like you said, if the world champion was on the card and it sold out, everybody made money. So we was all making money, you know. And everybody got an opportunity. If you could draw money, I mean, I wasn't always the main event in Georgia. You know, I mean, I'd have my run in a single and I'd drop off and they'd push somebody else up, and then I might come back with Wahoo McDaniels in the tag angle. You know, that's why my longevity was so good, because I'd do singles, and then in Georgia they'd bring guys in, especially when Ole was booking, because you had Ole and Gene and you had Ole and Ivan. So they'd bring somebody from outside in, and I would team up with them because I was hot on it in Atlanta, and that would give me a break from singles. You know, I wouldn't have to be in singles all the time, and I would work an angle and do the tag thing. So I think that, excuse me, was a lot of my longevity there, you know. And once Ole seen me get over, then he didn't have no choice but to use me any way he could, because I was high. I mean, Terry Funk told me one time. He said him and Dory pulled up in this little town in Texas, and of course, 17 was all over the country. And they come running up. They knew who Terry and them was. And asked him, was Tommy Rich in the car? You know, Terry. And I just remember Terry Funk telling me that. And I got a lot of respect for that, because for Terry to just come out and tell me that, you know, I mean, it was. And I was probably over more than I realized. I was just a young kid living a dream, you know. I mean, it's hard to, I mean, and like we was talking about earlier, celebrities not want to sign autographs. Well, first of all, and it don't matter what kind of celebrity you are, whether you're a movie star or what, don't matter what you get paid, it's in people that buy the ticket is why you're there. So to be rude to somebody, and which back in our day, the bad guys, that was their job, and I understood it, and they did do that. But my job was to say hello and hug the babies and kiss the mamas, but I didn't have no problem with it, because I was blessed to be where I was at. You know, I might not have realized how over I was, but I realized how blessed I was to be in the position I was in.
Right.
Tommy, we talked about the South Side for a little bit, and I just want to make sure that we do this on the air, because we were talking about how the face has changed in this business. And more importantly, and Mike, I think this is really interesting. I'm loving to share this with you. What has happened to sympathy in this business for a character, especially the good guy? The sympathy factor. You know, when Tommy, as an up-and-comer, was getting the tar kicked out of him by these evil, nefarious, it is good and evil, like we said, right. Brother?
Yes,
you know, what has happened to having sympathy? Now all we seem to have are anti-heroes. Is this due to Stone Cold? Can we have a true, you know, baby face, if I can, from those? Is the sympathy factor, Tommy, completely dead at this point for the traditional good guy?
There again, we go back to old school and new school, I guess, but we ad-libbed. So you didn't go out there you ain't got time to think about sympathy if you're going out there wondering about 20 high spots, what you're going to do.
Right.
And I probably, and hats off to them guys, because I can't jump off. I couldn't or wouldn't have jumped. I'm that ground man. I'm that wrestler. And I couldn't jump off a building, and I couldn't remember 20 spots to go out there and do a whole match. I mean, you might have an open and a heat spot and a finish. But a lot of times back in the day, I mean, you was in separate dressing rooms. So you didn't even talk. You just know what the finish was.
Right.
You know, so the rest of it, you just went out there and ad-libbed. I mean, and Bullet Bob, I think I might have said this, but he called it vaudeville, Shakespeare, walking and talking. You know, and you can't walk and talk if you doesn't sit back here. I mean, I couldn't sell thinking about what if I'm gonna miss this spot. You know, so it's a different horse today. They don't take time to sell.
Can you share anything that, you know, maybe your relationship with Nancy Benoit, and then maybe discuss the time that when you found out that she was eventually murdered by Chris Benoit? I mean, do you want to share any thoughts on that?
That was just a gosh awful thing, man. She was a nice lady. I mean, and Chris even. I didn't know him that well. I don't know nothing about that situation. And
well, how was Nancy as a person? Did you speak with her? Did you have some
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
relationship? And you know, how was she?
I knew. Yeah, I mean, she was married to Kevin for a while, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, she was just always. I mean, and I knew her when she was married to Kevin. Is actually when I knew her, and she was just always a nice lady.
What did you take from Chris, knowing Chris? What little you may know.
Most of my stuff with him was just he ain't nobody I socialized with or nothing, and I didn't meet him but a couple of times. But everything I heard about him was good things. You know, I mean, so I don't know. It's just an awful situation, man. I mean,
what do you think of when they, you know, there are apologists for Chris Benoit. We are not two of them sitting here, but you know, anything to CTE, you know, strikes, blows to the head. There has been a lot of things that said, you know, he had so many concussions, and this. Is there anything to that coming from one of the all-time great wrestlers? What do you say about stuff like that?
I don't know if he'd been hit in the head no more than I have.
There you go. Okay, that's fair.
I can't see myself ever doing nothing
Right,
like that.
right. Fair enough, man.
I mean,
Fair enough.
Here's something I didn't know about. You have issues with Jim Cornette. What is your relationship with Jim Cornette? This I had no clue. I had no clue.
This is news to me,
It's
bro.
news to me too. I was reading
But Jim
something
Cornette has
the other
issues
day.
with his tennis racket, but
yeah.
you know.
we just. I was wrestling Smoky Mountain. I just told the truth statement, and he made a bunch of statements. I don't care. I told the truth. He gave me a bounce check, and I sold his belt, and that's the bottom line.
Nice.
So he
You know,
he bounced a
nice.
check, and you had his belt, and you
I
sold it.
sold his
What
belt.
was his belt worth?
And I sold it for exactly what he owed me. I called him and told him.
Okay.
And that's all it was.
And what did he say to you when you told him
great.
that? Which is great, great story, by the way.
He didn't send me my money for the belt, and I sold it.
There you
That's
go.
what I told him I was going to do.
It's not like you backed over it with a tractor trailer like Hanson with the AWA. I mean, you
So I'm assuming at some point, you know, here you are, you're this famous wrestler, and then here comes this guy, right? As far as I know the story, if I'm wrong, he was a photographer, and then somehow.
Oh, I knew him. Yeah, I knew him when his mom worked at Louisville Gardens,
And she used to pay people
Okay.
to like put him on a show, right? Is that how it worked, or?
I think so. Now that I don't know. I just know he used to come and take pictures in Louisville Gardens, and that's where I first met him. And then, of course, he promoted Smoky Mountain. He bought the territory, whatever, and. You know, I work for him, and I have no bitches at him. I don't hate him or nothing.
Right.
Well,
Right.
let me ask you this. Here's this guy. His mom pays for him to get in. Now he's in the biz, and he's working it. And the great Tommy Rich is here. And now you got to take orders from some guy with a gimmick tennis racket. Is he truly this brilliant wrestling mind, or is he just the kid who mommy got him into the industry?
He's got a good gift for gab.
Yeah.
He's got a good gift for gab. And his mama did get him into business. I mean, I don't care if he's pissed off at me or not. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not trying to get you heat with him. All I'm
when I
saying.
worked in Smoky Mountain, I mean, like I said, I never had no beef with him. The only time I had a beef is I made that statement I just made to y'all about the bounce check, and then he goes on and says a
But
bunch
you're kind of
shit
circling the
about me.
wagons. The question really is, Tommy Rich, is he this brilliant wrestling mind, or
Do
is
you
it
think he's
just some loudmouth guy that got himself into business and now somehow has a following? Excuse my language, sir.
Well, I mean, he ain't working for WWE, he ain't working for AEW or none of them, so. I mean, if he was that good, they'd be working there. I mean, I would think.
Well, Vince Russo worked there too.
So who?
Vince Russo. Do you know Vince Russo at all?
No, I don't think I know him.
Okay.
I think he's fortunate to not know who Vince Russo is. Tommy, but just one more thing about Cornette, because he definitely comes off like he knows everything about everything. Was he always like this, behind the scenes? You cannot.
Yeah, he was always cocky. Yeah, he was always cocky. I mean, even like, privilege, just that he could say what he wanted to say. Yeah, he's always done that.
Let's talk about Buzz Sawyer, who I know is a complete nut job, but can you tell us more about Buzz the person and include all the nut job stuff if necessary? Tell us about Buzz. I love Buzz Sawyer. Oh my God, Buzz Sawyer and put him with Tommy? Got complete loose cannon with Tommy? Fantastic.
I'm gonna give you one quick story, and then you can ask me another question.
Okay.
Well, first off, I mean, he was a hell of an athlete.
Yes.
And only asked me, could I do an angle with him? I seen him killing guys on TV. I said, as long as he don't beat me up like that. And we went around the loop for 2 years, probably longest angle anybody's ever ran. Yeah.
2 years warring with this guy.
It started in Georgia, and then we carried it all up north. I mean, but 2 years we ran around. I worked with him every night. Yeah. But we was at the airport in Atlanta one time, and it was wintertime. He comes in flip-flops and little booty shorts,
flip-flops,
and tank top.
It's January. Okay.
He's like, He said, here, hold this for me, Tommy. I said, excuse me. I said, no, I ain't holding nothing. I said, better yet, you get away from me. Yeah, he thought he was going to get arrested for holding on to something, you know what I mean?
I got you.
But he was quite the character, Buzz was. He was 24/7. What you seen on TV, he was that outside too.
Did you consider him your friend? You worked with him for 2 years. Were you guys friends?
Yeah, but we didn't go out and eat together. I mean, but that was a time in the business where you did kayfabe. I mean, that's one thing I've always believed in.
His habits keep you from him? Huh? Did his habits keep you from wanting to hang out with him during the 2-year program? Here, hold this.
Behind closed doors, we might have partied a little bit.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
But we just didn't go out in public.
Right.
I got along. I mean, and probably more people didn't like Buzz.
Right.
But the ones that did, and I did. I like Buzz. I mean, we draw money together, and he didn't hurt me. Except a couple of times.
Did you ever bring your wife around the boys and with Buzz? Because here's a question. What kind of woman dates Buzz Sawyer? Like,
he had a beautiful wife, son.
Did he really?
There you go.
Son.
Why am I not surprised?
And night and day difference from Buzz.
Yeah.
Too.
He looked like a foot.
She was
We're bringing back an old favorite.
I can't believe it.
Hit it or quit it.
Yeah.
And, Tommy, we're just going to show you a picture.
Okay.
Maybe tell a little story. If you didn't want to hit it, again, we understand you're married. This is purely in our minds. As an older gentleman, I like to think that I could have
That's a very older gentleman.
19-year-old
I'm not
rock star.
dead yet.
There you go. That's the spirit, Tommy.
There you go.
All right, what do we got?
First up, Terry Runnels.
Woo!
Terry Reynolds, she used to manage us.
You hitting that manager?
No, sir. No, sir.
He's passing.
That was the York Foundation. Is that Terry Reynolds?
So you're,
Terry
it
Runnels.
is.
Yeah,
You're-
I
Are
didn't
you?
know personally.
Why would you pass on this beauty?
Professional
Terry Runnels?
respect?
Well, I was married then.
But no, you can't.
We're
This is
pretending.
Tommy
We're just
Rich
pretending.
wasn't married, single. Would you hit it?
And hide the replay from family members.
Yes.
I don't know. I heard a lot of people hit that anyway. So
Right,
I don't know.
right,
I
right.
don't know.
So out of safety concerns, perhaps not.
Or not to be.
Oh, that would be probably a hit it. I mean,
I got
go.
it. But is there
Okay.
concern on comparability? Meaning the fact, like, I'm not saying this happened, but say Ron Simmons hit it. Now, I'm not judging your length or
Damn.
girth, but I'm assuming Ron Simmons is fairly large below the waist. Do you really want to be compared to that if you hit a Terry Reynolds?
Wow,
Well,
this is a competitive business.
with you not having no hair on your head, and me being pretty well endowed, I mean, it might be a horse race.
Okay.
There we
All
go.
right.
There we go.
All right.
I don't
Nice.
know.
Right, Leonard
All right.
Nutskin.
Next up, personal friend of Monty and the Pharaoh.
Oh, here we
Miss
go.
Mandy Rose.
Oh,
Thoughts on Miss Mandy Rose? Now, Mandy Rose, you may not know her, She works for the WWE.
Yes.
She's now the NXT Women's Champion.
Correct.
And in my opinion, probably one of the most beautiful women in the world.
I would hit that till I'm
Thoughts,
unconscious.
Tommy?
She probably make an old man like me have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Somebody put out the wildfire. What happened?
So that'd be hitting, I guess.
Is that a situation where
I'm sorry, baby.
if you're hitting it and you have, again, single Tommy Rich, not married, Mrs. Rich, please, this is only
Please.
in make-believe,
Please.
so please don't get offended.
Yeah.
Is that the way you'd like to go? You go to Heaven's Gates and go, Jesus, I just got to tell you.
Ay, caramba.
I hit Mandy Rose, it's all good.
I'd probably kiss her from her belly button inside.
Listen, I don't blame you, bro.
This may be our best
I
contestant.
guess that's a hit it.
That's a hit it.
Here we go.
Well, you know,
In my mind, you're 2 for 2.
Honestly, we're
You're
throwing
two
you
for
some.
My
We're
wife
throwing you
don't
some
see
softball. We're
Yeah, we're
throwing you some
taking it easy
softballs
here,
here right
you
now.
know? We didn't break
Next
out
up,
Brock,
who I think probably has the greatest ass
Oh.
in professional wrestling.
Yeah, that's hard to argue with.
Miss Sasha Banks.
But that's
Thoughts
not a picture
on
of her ass.
Sasha Banks.
Oh, my,
That'd be a hit it too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a lollipop.
Sucker.
You know, I mean,
Is Sasha Banks the type of woman that if she had said, Tommy,
damn,
I would
y'all
really
need to
love
turn that air up.
Yeah,
here.
it's getting hot in
if she
here.
Last
said-
time there
if
wasn't
she
no
said,
air here, and I
Tommy,
didn't
I
get
would
this
love
hot.
to make love to you.
Huh?
The great, if Sasha Banks goes, Tommy,
Make love?
I would love to make love to you, but
No.
the one thing I need you to do is wear a woman's skirt and a black wig. Would you do that in
Why
order
is
to have
it
sex with Sasha Banks?
He's a performer, Tommy Rich.
He is a performer.
So would you gimmick out for her?
I'd put the skirt on, not the wig.
Not the wig. You
Wig
go
off.
halfway.
Wig
But the
on,
skirt, you're
skirt,
good.
I definitely do.
I can be honest with you, Tommy. If she asked me to do
Let's go.
anything, I would do it. There wouldn't even be a question, but that's me.
Oh my God, Tommy in a hula skirt?
All right, this one you're
What's
probably
going
not
on
going to
here?
appreciate, but we have to throw it in. It's purely because we love you. Miss Missy Hyatt. Thoughts on Missy Hyatt, sir?
Miss it.
You quitting it?
Quitting it. Yeah.
You quitting it?
Yeah, quitting
Done.
it.
Well, that's good because
Is this
I'll fill that
is this
back.
older Missy Hyatt? I don't know what picture you guys have up there. So is it
It's a
young Missy
nice
Hyatt?
one. It's a young one.
It's a young
no,
Missy
no,
Hyatt?
no. It's a little later on. It's a little later on.
This is Charlotte Flair. This is your friend
This
Ric
is Ric
Flair's
Flair.
daughter.
Okay,
Thoughts
Tom.
on would you hit it? And the question is, again, it's your friend Rick's daughter.
Yeah,
it's
come on
kind of
now.
weird. What are you
Yeah.
thinking?
Well, see, that's y'all put me in a hard spot because all of
Yeah.
them's like
Hard
younger
spot?
than my daughters.
Yeah, that's a little rough.
So I'm being a pervert saying, "Oh yeah, let me hit that." Yeah.
Well, I'll say it. I'd hit it.
Yeah. There you go.
Just saying. Yeah, but what if you laying with her and all of a sudden she's like, woo?
That would be a quit it.
That would be a
You're like, you know what? I'm done.
knock it off.
Forget it. I'm out of here.
Yeah. I'm out of
great.
here. Tell your friends about this show because, hey, I'm going to tell you what, it's one of the best shows. I love you guys, man. Thank y'all for having me. Hey, and as Freddie Miller would say, y'all better not miss it. You better be there or here because this is the show.